Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today in the latest episode, the Famine episode of the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Thank you for joining us on your Tuesday so that we can get some news that we can use. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I bear witness that if it wasn't for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and this book, How to Each Live, I don't believe I would have much to offer of news that you can use. And of course, have to give credit to Minister Louis Farrakhan for bringing these teachings back and producing in me the ability to gather my thoughts from what I learned in all the training, all the years of medical education, but putting it in a way that really can affect change in the people. So I'm sure there may be some people that are wondering why I started that like that today, since I definitely don't. David Hawthorne, peace, bro. Because I got three messages, I believe, from God within the last week. And I hope you all don't mind me telling you the short story about how and why. So one of my best friends on the planet Earth is Danny Muhammad down here in Houston. Cheryl X, thank you for coming in. Peace. He called me, we were talking last week, and he said that just because you're not arrogant doesn't mean you're humble. And I had to just think about that for a minute. Danny, let's get it, bro. Thank you for coming in. I'm talking about you, bro. Sagir Hassan, thank you for coming in. Peace. So he mentioned that Abdul Halim, my student minister, thank you for coming in, sir. Thank you for being part of my ability to share knowledge. Thank you, sir. So he made a comment that not being arrogant is not the same as being humble. And it kind of took me for a second because I've never thought about it before. But I had to bear witness that those are two separate things that you have to work on individually. You can break down and start working on not being arrogant, but being humble is like a total different thing altogether. From my viewpoint, that was one conversation. In that conversation, he also told me that, man, we got to start putting these things in the right perspective. What we are dealing with right now is a plague. And again, it was like, damn, bro, it was just amazing. And then when people around you give you information and help you grow and help you to put things in the proper perspective, because I don't take this lightly that those of you who come on a regular basis, you spend your time with me, and you a lot of you are giving me, these thank yous, and things are changing your life. And so I take this very seriously, and I always want to make sure that I'm growing and I'm doing things in the best capacity. So for him to say, man, this is the plague in scriptures, and you have to bear witness. And then Sunday, for those of you who saw the show, you saw Brother Dr. Wesley, to a certain degree, correct me and Brother Rizza. In not a negative way. That's what we do as brothers. We steel sharpen steel, right? So when we're around each other and we have something to say, we don't go behind each other's back and say it. We say it to each other. And he said, look, we have to put God first. And he was right. That's the second warning. And then I got a call today. I'm not going to reveal the person's name who called me. I'm going to do that in a later time. But just suffice it to say that today's conversation was confirmation. Let's put it that way. Confirmation that, starting and giving credit to who put me in this position to have something to say, need to get the credit every day when I start. And, for those of you who may not know, the person on one of the comments that you see, Abdul Halim Muhammad, that is our local Houston minister, student minister, but he's also the regional minister of this whole region around Houston. And, without people like the ones that I've mentioned, it wouldn't be possible for me to have grown and gotten to a place where people will want to hear something that I have to say. Think about what I'm talking about. The medical community in general is so confused right now. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to react. They're quitting. They're in total confusion. But for those of you who have been listening to me over a time period, you hear me standing firm I haven't changed anything that I've said other than new information that I'm gathering about this situation, this plague that we're dealing with. You still see me standing firm on the suggestions that you should do, the things that I'm doing. I'm working on it. And those of you who are paying very close attention, you can see this face getting a little slimmer. So it's not because of some mystery. It's because I'm doing the work that I'm suggesting that you all do. So I think we have a wonderful show. I had to start there because we have to put things in the proper perspective. We have to put things in the perspective that they need to be. And that is, regardless of what your belief, regardless of religion, regardless of faith, well, that's not the discussion. This discussion is that this is a reality that is happening because God allowed it to happen. Othel Muhammad, Latanya, Sharon Crockett, Bruce George, Eddie Goldsmith, Sophia X, Paul Ann Taylor, Monica Stewart, Stephen, my captain. Thank you all for coming in. Toilet Kia, Malene, all the way from Hawaii. Aloha, my sister. So let's get right into it, my brothers and sisters. I wanted to start with this. I hope nobody is offended. Well, the reality is you can't be offended by the truth. But look at these stories from all over the world talking about famine of biblical proportion. Well, when the news media starts talking about things of biblical proportion, what they are really saying is they have no idea how to explain it. The scientists have no way to explain it. But we do have explanations for this because we have had a man standing in front of us for as long as most of us have been alive and telling us that there was going to be an end to America, telling us that there was going to be consequence for the way that the black man and the black woman and the brown man and the brown woman has been treated in this country and all over the world. And we're starting to see it. These people that run this country, Brandon, my 1 meal every 3 day brothers here. Thank you, brother, for coming in. Cheryl West, thank you for coming in. So that is today's program. We're going to talk about famine, but most importantly, I always say that I'm not a doom and gloom type of person. I'm not going to stay in that reality of looking at things from such a negative perspective. At everything negative, there's something positive that can come out of it, or there is a way to look at it from a positive perspective. There's nothing that is happening that Allah didn't allow to happen. So let's look at it from that way today. George Allen Jamil and Shaolin Soldier, thank you, brothers, for coming in. Peace. So let me just go into what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of scriptures and then we're going to talk about solutions. I pray that everybody is okay. So first, let's get to the definition of famine. Get this off here first. Definition of famine. Sorry, it took me that long to get there, but there you have it. Extreme scarcity of food. And then, they also say down here a shortage because it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be none, but there's not going to be enough based on what we read in scriptures and based on what we've been taught by the men who have the ability to see in the future and be very, very, very accurate. They're telling us that this is coming. And so when we start thinking about this famine that we're dealing with, let's go to the scriptures and see what the scriptures say. There's Revelations 18. What does it say down here? See down there, number 4? And I heard another voice from heaven. So if you hear a voice from heaven, we all automatically connect that with something positive. Somebody's going to tell you the truth. Somebody is going to give you some information, some news that you can use. And of course, I'm not talking about me, but I'm talking about the person who would say something like this is somebody that we can trust, somebody that we can rely on. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins. Who's her? In this Revelations is talking about America. It's talking about all the evil reality that attracts us in this world, that ye receive not her plagues. So you mean there's actually something that we can do? And who is my people? What can we do about this? Well, let's look a little further. Jeremiah. And this is a scripture I was told to use today. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then is not the health of the daughter of my people recovered? Well, let me just read this last scripture. I'm going to tell you what I think. So if you get a chance, this is John 10. Take a little time to read through this, but the point that I just want to concentrate on starts right there at number 8. It says, well, no, let me start at 7. Then said Jesus unto them again, verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So again, I just went to 3 scriptures because we said, as well as the people in the news are talking about what? Biblical proportions, right? And so that's sometimes how people will talk about God without really saying it. But we got to tell the truth. We got to say that this is God telling us how to look at things. Those of us who have the ability to look at it from the right perspective, right? We're not running around with our heads cut off in oblivion, just being at the sake of another person in their thought process. Roxanne, Ruben, Sharon can't see scriptures. Oh, I apologize. I got to put them back up. But let me finish what I got, and then we'll go on that. El Malik, thank you for coming in. So, there is talking about a doctor in Gilead. Well, some of you heard what I said on Sunday, and I'm going to repeat it. I graduated medical school, started practicing medicine, and for years, I became more and more frustrated until I read this book, How to Eat to Live. And when I started practicing it and then started practicing it and giving it to my patients, I started seeing people solve problems. But I also, as I was reading it, I was getting information that I had never even considered, right? I had never had any doctor, nobody that influenced me, nothing that I ever read, nobody that was a mentor of mine ever said to fast. And nobody ever said anything about getting over chronic diseases without medications. Nobody ever said anything to me about being able to solve diabetes and not have to take medication. In the first 35 pages when I read this book, I was immediately put back into a sense of happiness, a sense of accomplishment again, because practicing medicine and just feeding people pills and not knowing truly how to help people come out of these situations was killing me inside. And so the man that you hear now, the man that has been doing these Ultimate Wellness Group presentations over the last few years, I don't talk without confidence, because this book has given me all the confidence in the world. It's put me at a place that I never had before, as far as feeling confident and feeling accomplished and feeling like I know that no matter what a person comes to me with, no matter what the problem is that you bring and put in my lap, I believe we're going to make it through it, and we're going to get better, and we're going to solve the problem if it's possible. But you got to put in the work. It's not easy. So that life and life more abundantly, I believe, is that man, that bomb in Gilead, that doctor. I wasn't referring to myself. I call this man Dr. the Honorable Elijah Dr. Muhammad. That's what I call him, because he turned me into a much better doctor than a medical school ever did. And so that's just the truth that I have to tell. Sometimes, not sometimes, I always think that this is not the right place for talking about God, but hell, these days and times, we got to talk about God. We can't not put God in this equation. So last thing, this is for those who read the Quran. And unfortunately, some people read this right there. This is Surah. For those that have never seen or read the Quran before, Surah is just an Arabic term for chapter, right? So this is chapter 3 or Surah 3 of the Quran. And the name of it is the family of Imran. In Arabic, it's Al Imran, right? And so that's what we're reading from. And a lot of people, when they read this ayat would be the particular verse, right? So a lot of people read this and they say this is Prophet Muhammad, but This doesn't fit Prophet Muhammad. So here I'm reading 349. And make him a messenger to the children of Israel, saying, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, that I determined for you out of the dust the form of a bird. Then I breathe into it and become a bird with Allah's permission. And I heal the blind and the leprous and bring the dead to life with Allah's permission. And I inform you of what you should eat and what you should store in your houses. Surely there is a sign in this for you if you are believers. So let's just make it 1000% clear that I believe that any and all of you that don't say you are a member of the Nation of Islam, you have seen somebody on social media post something about this book. I don't know any other faith that has a lifestyle plan that solves problem. I don't know anybody else that I know of. I'm talking about all the doctors I know around the country. I have not heard anybody go to a book that's based in spirituality and start helping people. Most of the doctors that I know, some of them are my friends, some of them are just colleagues, but they take medications. They're fat, they're sick, they look old when we stand next to each other. They got gray all in their hair and their beard, eyelashes. So, you know, I'm not trying to pump myself. I'm pumping the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That scripture in that Quran is talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And some of you have seen us talk about this book. Some of you have seen us list the things that should be stored in our house. Some of you saw us when the minister told us to make sure we store things in our house for 3 months, and we came and we offered that information to you all. Who else is talking about? Name me one other spiritual person that prior to this thing happening told us to store food in our house for 3 months. So again, you know, I got to give credit where credit is due. That's what it's about this morning. I'm sorry, this at the beginning of this show. So we're going to get into the growing power, but I had to start there. This famine is real. The famine is coming. Just because there's food available now, you still see things in the grocery store. That's the immediate reality. The famine aspect is what happens to all of these farms that they're just letting the food rot around the country. What's happening to people who rely on pork as a major part of their diet, and they're closing the pork places. And now they're threatening to close most of the meat factories in this country. What are you going to do if you're a person that eats meat all the time? A lot of things for us to think about. Donita Lake, thank you for coming in. Jamil, Sunny in Cincinnati. Yes, sir. Bruce George, thank you for coming in. Dwayne, thank you for coming in. Yes, ma'am. Monica, Sister Jeanette, thank you for coming in. Peace. Brother Jamil said, I didn't go gray. I just went silver. The silver bullet, huh? El Malik said, Brother Keith, you sound like you had a session with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and came here to Chicago. Hey, bro, when I finally do tell you where I got that information from today, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Seti Bay, thank you for coming in. Prophet Noble Drew Ali did also, brother. Yes, ma'am. No question. Derek Pierre, thank you for coming in. Haq Jihad, thank you for coming in. Kanisha Anderson, thank you. Thank you. Peace. Okay, so let's go ahead and move into the show, my good people. I wanted to start there, but let's get back into this health thing. Okay, so we are going to share a little video that I did. This is the first one, just a little reminder. Ultimate Wellness Group thought of the day or the week. No excuses. Look at them people out there getting it in. Got their social distancing going on, but they're doing something. They're staying active. It's kind of warm out here in Houston. But this is what we all have to do, y'all. If you consider yourself fat, obese, you know you're overweight, don't make excuses. Put some time in your schedule, especially in this day and time when a lot of us aren't working, a lot of us don't have a normal busy schedule. Put exercise in your life now and do it in a way that you can consistently do it once we're through this situation. Exercise, major part of keeping the immune system right. Let's get busy. No excuses. Peace. Okay, I had to just drop that in there. I was about to go somewhere today, and I saw the people out there, so I just wanted to give us a warning. But here's the video that I really want you all to see. It's about 8 minutes long, so y'all please have some patience and check it out because I did it with you in mind. All right. Here we go. All right, good people. The Ultimate Wellness Group. Today's program is about famine and how we can start preparing for it. So you see here I have collected the scraps of food from my wife making bean soup. You know, and by the way, I do help her. I get in and cut some of this stuff up so she won't have to do any work. One day I was in the kitchen with her, you know, from the beginning of her cooking to the end. My back and legs are hurting so much by the time we get done, man. We got to give a lot more credit to our sisters when they're in the kitchen making all this beautiful food for us. So I just wanted to kind of show you this. It's got, you see watermelon, ginger peel, navy beans that we took out that weren't good, as cucumber, onion peels. Now, why am I going specifically into that? Because one of the things that we have to take in consideration is that if you put these things in your compost, what I do is bury all of these things real deep. But I'll put this, that, and avocado seed, and then you see this onion over here that already started to sprout. See, this is how you know when the food that you're buying is quality, because GMO foods won't grow like this. When you put a seed in the ground from Monsanto and some of these other companies that are trying to murder us, you can grow one crop, but then it won't reproduce, and the seeds won't reproduce, or you won't even have seeds, like watermelon without seeds and grapes without seeds. So I just wanted to mention that first. You guys see my bin there. It's pretty big. It's got the handle on it. I bought a big one because right now, like I'm staying here with my daughter in her apartment because I'm in flux right now, right? I got some stuff I'm doing in California, and I live here in Houston. And so, what's up, man? How you doing? Come on up. You want to get that for you? I'm going to have to start this video back over, y'all. All right, so I was saying that this is going to be something that proves that your food is an heirloom, okay? So these are some ways that you can just evaluate that. And then, as I was saying, you want to like, I'm just showing you this because I want you all to see. So you would put the stuff that you want to grow up on the surface like that, just a little bit of dirt on top. Because like if your avocado grows or your tomatoes grows, you don't want to have to dig down and try to find the roots. Because sometimes if you try to dig down and find the roots, you will mess around and break the roots off and your baby plant won't grow. See how there's some things growing in here already? But I really didn't grow that to grow. That's just growing out of the food. Okay. And now you see bugs, right? You see all these bugs up here. So, I mean, if we have a fear of bugs, y'all, we're going to have to get over it, right? Because I think it would be kind of crazy. We probably would all agree that it would be crazy to say that I'm not growing no food because I'm afraid of bugs. There's going to be bugs. So we just got to get over that because it's more important to live than it is to be concerned about what a bug is going to do. Most of the type of bugs that are in your soil to improve your soil, they're not going to hurt you. They're not biting you. Look at these worms. You see all those worms? They went away that quick. But anyway, so there are worms all in here. This is my worm bin, my composting bin, and my growing bin. Use it all at the same time. We can do all three all at the same time. So let me just kind of show you all what these are, all the scraps that I've been collecting over the last few weeks, because I wanted to wait and do this so that you all could see them. Now here's my ginger, right? And you see that little bulb right there? That's going to grow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that not too deep. Cover that up. And when that starts to sprout, I'll know. Because I mess with this thing every day. I'll know where my ginger is, right? These avocado seeds, they were kind of buried in these bags. I sometimes put like the whole brown paper bag in here and let that break down too. So now that I took that out, that's probably going to grow. So I'm going to put a little bit of dirt on top of that. And then show you how I do the rest. So after you get the stuff that you really just want to bury, like the onion peels and all that kind of stuff, you don't really concern yourself with how deep that goes, because that's not going to grow anything, right? You're not going to grow anything from an onion peel, but that onion peel is going to be good. And I typically have a little shovel, one of those small shovels, but I couldn't find it, so got to make it happen, right? It's just another example of how we can't have any excuses. If one thing don't work, if you don't have one thing, then use something else. I don't know if you all can see it very well, but there are a lot of worms in here. As long as you have something for them to eat, they're not going to go nowhere. And what they produce, you all may have to do a little research, but they produce what I consider black gold, right? So what worms produce is what we call casting. A worm has the ability to go in your soil and take out all the negative stuff, take out all the poisons. And then when they defecate, they give you highly clean and nutritious soil, right? The nutrients from the food, as I've said before, starts to change, right? As the food rots, those nutrients aren't for humans anymore. Once the food starts to rot, those nutrients are for the soil, to put back in the soil. For what? For the next time that you want to eat. And so we have to understand some of these things and understand some of the way that this beautiful earth and this beautiful ecosystem was made for our benefit. I'm going to put this onion over there, but I got the rest of my stuff that I got to drop in here, right? So there's an example of, like I said, about the paper bag. I try not to put too many paper bags with too much coloring in it, but sometimes it's okay. So I take that whole thing, drop it in there. And all the rest of the stuff that I have in here, I just put on top, right? This has been sitting out for a few days, so it's already started to rot. There are already a bunch of gnats in it. So that's what I do. I just drop it all in there. I know a lot of people have their own ideas of what to do. I'm not trying to say that I'm an expert, but I have been growing food all my life, and I've been growing food in every place that I live. I refuse to have a big old backyard of grass without a bunch of fruit trees, and I'm always trying to grow something. So I'll be there in a second, please. And so this is how I do it, right? And then what you can do, it doesn't make a difference whether you live in an apartment, you live in a place where you just have a little room, or you have a big old patio or a backyard or whatever. Take you a few pots, and once these things start to sprout, you can transfer them into those pots, right? And then if we really understand this famine that we're about to go through, right, that is biblical, scriptural, so you can't make God's prophets into liars, right? So we know that famine is coming. It's all written in the scriptures, and everything that we're going through right now can be explained in the scriptures. This virus that we're dealing with is a plague. That's the wording in the Quran and the Bible, plague. And so that's what we're dealing with. And so we have to understand that the scripture says, come out of her, my people, so that you may not partake in her plagues. So how do we come out of that? We got to come out of eating their food. We have to come out of trusting them in what they do. And this is the way that you can start producing food for you and your family that you can trust. And so I hope this little thing, this little video helps us just to kind of consider what we can do differently. And this is how you can start growing your own food. This is the beginning aspect, right? We have to get farmland, and we have to be able to feed all of our people. But right now, we can start as a community. If I'm growing 3 or 4 or 5 things, most of the time when you start growing food, you get much more than you and your family can eat. So I share with you, because I got tomatoes and eggplant and okra, but you have broccoli, asparagus, and cauliflower. And so we start getting these co-ops amongst ourselves, right? The Honorable Life Muhammad teaches us that we do for self, and then our surplus we sell to others. So we have to start looking out for the black community. Y'all think about, you saw on the news within the last week, these white folks going up to, governor's offices and to the White House and all that type of stuff, talking about what they don't want. Well, they're not protesting for you. They're protesting for themselves. They don't have us in their mind. They're not thinking about us surviving. So we've got to get on board and start doing something for ourselves so that we won't perish. All right. So I hope this helped. Hope this is beneficial. I'm sure some people have some beneficial things to add, but I just wanted to give you my little bit of what I've learned over the years of growing food and trying to be self-sufficient. Peace. Well, I hope y'all didn't get bored of that. But I tried to do a little something to help us just think about what things we can do, put our own minds. I want to just get to a couple of comments and then we're going to go on into what is it about that composting and that worm bin. Destiny Vim, thank you for coming in. You said, can you give workshops for physicians who are tired of practicing Western medicine and want to introduce the Messengers program to their patients? Absolutely. I would be very, very happy to do that. I have some physicians who I do have some influence over. They give me compliments all the time. They talk about, they know what I'm doing is right. And they know what I'm doing is good. They look at me and they know that what I'm doing is beneficial. It's the money thing though, y'all. I mean, people get used to the lifestyle and it's hard for them to come out. So I don't knock them. I'm just thankful to be where I am. Eric Seymour, peace, bro. Thank you for coming in. Bruce George, I need to make you my doctor. No pills for me. Hey, contact your brother. That's what we're going to do. Work on it. Khalida Muhammad, thank you for coming in. Lawrence, thank you for coming in. And I need to get shout out, brother Lawrence. If you all don't follow him on Facebook, you need to. This brother is doing the work, and I don't do this for the accolades. I don't do this for people to pat me on the back. But that brother's so supportive, showing my videos, sending my videos to other people. But you can look at his activity and you know that he lives how to eat to live. So, Brother Lawrence, thank you for being a wonderful example. My brother, I appreciate you and all that you do to try to support me. Seti Bay, putting in your garden for compost. Yes. Shaba Diaz says, yes, sir. Zena Hayes, thank you, man, for coming in. Good evening, Darlene Paisley. Thank you for watching. Worms are a sign of good soil. That's absolutely true. We're going to get into that in a minute. Joseph, thank you for coming in. Nia Lay, I'm looking to grow my own food as well. Yes. William, brother, thank you for coming in. And I apologize to my brother, William, because on the show that we had, the physicians and I gave all that information, Brother William was very instrumental in helping me get that information. And so I didn't shout you out, bro, and I apologize. And I meant to do it. So here's your moment, bro. Thank you for everything that you did to make that show a success, bro. Everybody's talking about how much they loved it. And if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't have been as powerful. Cynthia Wilson, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Shaolin Soldier, man. I know some of y'all haven't seen him around in a minute, but this brother always has some very interesting thoughts and questions. We've been at this for a few weeks now. It's a learning process, but essential that we master growing our own. Thank you for sharing, brother. Yes, sir. Thank you, bro. Cheryl Lynn, Rubia Brewer. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Cheryl West. Thank you for coming in. Okay, let's get. Well, I'm glad. Thank you all for telling me it was a good presentation. Stacy B, I want to know if I can change the composition or do a cover crop on Monsanto soil. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. Brother Danny, what are survival foods we need to survive when famine comes? Great question. Lawrence says, where'd you go? All praise due to Allah. Thank you for all. Yes, sir. Yeah, we all striving, bro. Thank you. Maxine, thank you for coming in. Peace. Michelle Muhammad, water garden in my kitchen. There you go. Are you prepared to live off the grid? No electricity and wilderness ready? Need lessons on it because we will have to go in hiding at some point. Eunice Johnson, thank you. You're a newbie. Well, sure appreciate you coming in. Neokia Farrell, thank you for coming in. So about the grid, being off the grid, yeah, I am ready to do that. I don't know if I have all the preparation that I need to do that, but I have learned how to fish over the years. And, as that, I just showed you all in that little demonstration. I mean, I grow food everywhere that I've ever lived. And when I have good crops, I mean, you can't eat it fast enough. And so, yes, I believe I am ready to go here. I still have some other things to do. But I think the bigger point that I'm trying to get across to everybody is that if each of us start saving the scraps, and I want to be very clear. When I talk about heirloom seeds, so here's some seeds that I bought not too long ago. I hope you all can see that okay. But you see down there right above on this finger, you see heirloom. That word represents the ability of a food to reproduce itself. And, I'm going to get to Brother Danny's question in a second. but we have to have some foundational ideas. You know, I don't eat food that isn't organic because I don't think that pesticides, herbicides, and chemical fertilizers and GMO foods are good for my body. So I avoid them probably 99% of the time that I eat. When you're dealing with a food that is an heirloom, you can eat the food, like the bell pepper that I showed you all. Those bell peppers grow in my worm bins all the time. Tomatoes grow regularly. Avocados grow regularly. Watermelons grow. Cucumbers grow. What else have I grown over the years? Okra, eggplant, watermelon, squash. All of these things grow, and I don't typically, I mean, it's been years since I bought seeds. I bought seeds recently because I think it's part of our survival reality to have some seeds. But the point that I'm getting to is that if we are eating heirloom foods and if we are planting heirloom seeds, then we don't have to go to anybody and buy seeds. If we have a good, nice okra crop, we eat some, we give some away, we barter with some of our neighbors, and then some of them we keep to produce seeds. You see what I'm saying? So everything that we'll be doing going this forward has to be thinking short and long-term survival. So all of us, no matter where we live, no matter how much room, little or small, we have, that big bin that I just showed you all might not fit in some people's back patios, but it will fit in a lot of people's patios. And if you have a large backyard or you just have a medium size or small backyard, instead of all that grass, what about a few raised bed gardens? What about fruit trees? These are things that can produce food for us in times when there may not necessarily be things to go by. This earth will never stop feeding us. I don't care what kind of famine is going on from the perspective of going to find some food. If you have a garden and fruit trees in the backyard, there's still going to be sunshine. There's still going to be rain. There's still a God. God didn't go anywhere. The ability to grow food hasn't gone anywhere. We as Black people have gone away from that because of our trials and tribulations in this country. But now it's time to face the music. In order to avoid famine, we have to grow food. And some of us are going to have to grow some to be able to give to other people, because part of our reality of making it through this is going to be to maintain some charitability, right? I think we all would agree to that. We have to share knowledge. We also are going to have to share each other what we have. The statement that we say as Muslims is, if you have a bowl of bean soup, half of that is your brothers or your sisters. That's the kind of love that we should have for each other. That's the type of love that God is going to make us have for each other when this whole thing is over. So we might as well start getting ready for it and plan on being the leaders through it, right? Instead of allowing it to force our mind, let's put our minds in check and start planning for how we're going to make it through this. Come out of her, my people, so that you won't partake in her plagues. Michelle, I'm ready for the most part. Yes. Living off the grid. That's right. Remember you said, oh, wait. Sometimes these comments go by so fast, y'all. I apologize. So while I'm looking for this, you know, the foods that we should be storing, I think the best food to store is navy beans, because when you're talking about beans, they can last for a long period of time, and they start to activate when you apply water to them, right? They also can be canned. And on the Ultimate Wellness Group Facebook page, I did, there's a canning video on there. And so we have to start understanding that canning is another way of producing food and having it last for a long time. Dehydrated fruits, you know, that can last for a long time once you dehydrate them. And then you can can certain vegetables, right? Nothing that is a fresh fruit or a fresh vegetable is going to last for long periods of time unless you do something to it to help preserve it. So, you know, I am not the expert in that, but we do have people that are experts, and I will put the videos on my YouTube channel. They're on my Facebook, but I'll also put them on a YouTube channel for those of you who want to go check them out, because all of these things are things that we'll have to do to make it. So Kia Moline says, remember you said to save all those hard beans to plant. Save me from throwing them out. Yes, ma'am. And my wife actually has been spending all day today with one of her sisters canning navy beans, and that's what they did. All the ones that they picked out, I just put into a little bag, and what I'm going to do is go right back to that bin tomorrow and plant them on the surface. And the navy bean looks very similar to every other bean, the green bean. So it's going to be a little skinny little green thing that comes up, and it's going to start leaning like most beans and tomatoes do. And then you'll have to do something to prop them up. But what I'm going to do is take them all out of that bin, and I'm going to put them in long little pots that aren't that thick, right? Because the deeper the soil, the higher the plant, because the deeper and the wider the roots will go. And so I don't want them to get too much. I'm just going to do some more experimentation with beans to see how many I can produce and what kind of yield they'll have, so that I can start planning for when I have more land, when I get myself a little more stable. Okay. Cynthia Mama, thanks for coming in. You said, great job on Sunday. You were truly the nation's doc. Yes, sir. Prepping my soil now. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, ma'am. But Danny says, how long should we prepare to endure the famine? Whew, that's a question way beyond my pay grade, Brother Danny. I don't know. But what I do know is right now, I have a man I think we all can trust. His name is Minister Louis Farrakhan. He gives us information. He tells us what we need to do. You know, I had some friends when the minister gave us instructions early on in this pandemic. I sent it all to them, and a lot of them were saying, we're going to see who the minister really is when we see if his words really come to fruition. And every single one of them have borne witness that that's the only person that they heard give them some type of preparation. But I don't know how long it's going to last, brother. I think the reality is that we already were told to have 3 months of food. And my experience is that most things that I have grown, you can pretty much get a harvest in 3 months. So, you know, if we all are thinking this way and we're going in this direction, then, you know, all of us should be telling each other. And of course, there's some people you can't tell this information to, but I'm saying we should have a way of sharing information and say, hey, look, I got some food. You got this. I got this. So we got to continue to find ways to grow food. We have to also find ways to communicate with each other so that we can keep each other safe during these times. But I wouldn't know what to say to that answer. That's a good question, though, my brother. Dwayne Muhammad, thank you for coming in. What company or farm produce your seeds? Good question. So this company is called Botanical Interests. You see there at the bottom. And this is a company, I'll put their website up there. This is a company that I have used in the past, but it also is a place here in Houston that I have used for many, many years. So I've bought like seedlings from them. I brought fruit trees and seeds in the past and have had good yields, and they were truly heirlooms because I would grow a food, just keep it in a particular pot. Once I got that food, I would dry out some of those seeds and replant them, and they actually grew as well. So I do trust this company. I'm not saying that we can trust anybody 100%, but I went through the activity of trying to see if I could trust these companies. And so that's why I continue to buy seeds from them. If food is not organic, is it really food? What the distinction conventional versus organic? Great question. I have a book that I am finalizing now. Been working on it for a few years. I actually thought it was ready until my wife went and looked at it and started making all these corrections. So I got to go back. I got to make some corrections and fix some things. But there's a section in my book where I say that processed GMO and junk food is the devil. And I'm sure that might surprise some people, but devil is just a word that means grafted from original, not original, something that isn't original. And so, no, I don't think that conventional food and pesticide, herbicide, GMO, processed food is real food, because the human body doesn't view it as real food. And the honest truth is that as we go into this famine, if you have to starve to death versus eating something that's not organic, come on, we make the logical choice. But we are taught in How to Eat to Live that if you have to starve to death, don't eat the pig. So, you know, we can take that one to heart, but we should have some other things that we could survive on. So I think it's important, you know, right now while it's available. And then what I'm growing is going to, of course, be organic. And if you have organic seeds and you have organic food and heirloom food, what you're going to be eating is organic. But sister asked a great question. She said, what about food that has GMOs in it or pesticides, herbicides? chemical fertilizers. Don't worry about it. There's nothing that you can really do about what has already damaged your soil. What you have to do is what I just finished showing you. Get some soil or start putting your food scraps in the ground. Wherever your soil is contaminated, start putting food in the ground. Hit it with a shovel, drop that food in there, cover it up with some dirt. If you know some places in your yard where there's some worms, or if you don't, go find some worms and dump them in that same area. Like I said, the worms are going to eat the food, and they're going to take the chemicals and toxins out, and we're going to look at what they produce when they do it. So that's how we can keep ourselves comfortable. We don't have to keep worrying about what used to be in this, right? This is the news that you can use. The worm is going to clean your soil, so you can stop worrying about whether this or that is in the soil. Just make sure nothing else, after you start growing your food and start putting your worms in there, don't let anybody else put any more chemicals on there. But whatever happened in the past, we just trust the process that our great God has put into this ecosystem to take care of us. Everybody do me a favor and share the show. If you're, well, just tell people about the show, period, wherever you're on. What's a good soil to get? Great question. So that soil that you all saw in my bin is organic potting soil from Home Depot. I've also seen it at Lowe's. I don't get no money from either one of those companies, don't have a preference. But, you know, you can sometimes go to some of the plant stores in your area and you can find good soil. The other thing that I use sometimes is soil that's mixed with cattle manure, you know, chicken manure, things of that nature. And I'll put that in my worm bin, or I'll put that in my raised bed gardens. When I am in California, at the house I used to that I grew up in, we have some dirt in the backyard. And so when I was there a couple of weeks ago, I went there and I put always dirt at the bottom portion of my bin. And then I put all my scraps on top, and then I put more dirt on top, and then I put the worms on top of there. And so that soil out in California is a reddish, and it has a lot of clay in it, so it's heavy. And so sometimes you can get dirt right from your own yard or right from somewhere close to you. You don't always have to go buy any. But the key is that when you start putting that soil, I mean, your food in there, and you put those worms in there, I'm going to show you in a minute what it looks like. So I'm going to have to get to these last questions, and I want to show you all a few things. And then after this program, please, I hope that you all get busy, get out there and get your stuff so we can, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show you this video, and then we're going to come back. Okay. Let me see. I want y'all to check this out. Well, let me first show this. There. So when these worms eat the food, and you know what? Hold on. I gotta clarify something first, brothers and sisters. You know, somebody asked the other day, do navy beans fight the virus? And you know, I've had a lot of people ask me questions like that. Look, there is no magical food. There is no magical substance. Some of you have heard me talk about a ginger, turmeric, honey, raw honey, and lemon juice that I make, a tea that I make, my wife makes, and we drink, and it's an immune booster. Look, when I show pictures of the human body and I show pictures of the cells, it's the nutrients that we get from those foods that boosts those systems in the body. So whether it's a blood cell, or whether it's a cell that builds the heart, a cell that builds the muscles, or a cell that builds the brain, all of these cells of the body accept nutrition from the food that you eat or what you drink. There's no magic to any food. The greatness of the navy bean is the zinc and the selenium and the amino acids that's in it. But what do? We absorb that in the intestines, and then that gets sent to all over the body wherever it needs. So the immune system is what kills all infections. No mystery. It's not the bean doesn't go and do anything. It's the nutrients that God put in that bean that goes and builds all the systems of the body, because that's what the body does. It takes vitamins, nutrients, and phytonutrients, water, the minor nutrients from the salt. And that's what it takes. It uses those things. That's like the fuel that's in your car. That's like the oil that keeps your car running smooth. The water that's running around in your radiator, keeping the engine cool. It's the nutrients that go in the body and do the work to boost the immune system so that it kills them. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. You know, a lot of people keep asking me about, does this food do such and such? Most of the foods that are good for us just give us a whole lot of nutrients, and then the body uses it, like I just said. Okay, so I went there because I thought about this right here. When you do worm castings, these are the things that you're getting. So this nitrates and the phosphorus and the magnesium, potassium, calcium, manganese, copper, zinc, cobalt, borax, iron, carbon, and nitrogen. But let's not make any like ethereal idea about this. These nutrients are coming out of that stuff that I put into the bin. The peel of the onion that you don't use, the portion of the bell pepper that you don't eat, the aspect of the orange and the grapefruit that you peel, the part of the garlic that you take off, the beans that you don't want because you take them out because those don't look right, so I'm going to throw those away. You put that in your bin. That's where these nutrients are coming from. So it's not a magical thing. A worm is nothing magical. The worm is eating things, and as I said before, as a food starts to rot, the nutrients change from being necessary and good for you to good for the worm, good for those other bugs that you saw in my worm bin. There's all kind of bugs in there. I think y'all saw one on that program. I did like that. I was blowing a bug off my hand. So yeah, all those bugs love all that stuff that's in the soil and in that food for them, because it's not any good for you anymore. So I wanted to show this really quickly so that you all can just see. I'm not going to play this whole thing, but I want you to just see some of it. This is a time capsule of somebody just showing what happens in a worm bin. So you can see all the way to your left would be fruits, vegetables, and like leaves and things of that nature. In the middle is cardboard, more heavy paper and things of that nature. And then to your right is more thin paper. You can see like, you know, paper cut up or paper bags, like I was talking about, the brown paper bag in there. Like, you know, this is a long video, so we're not going to sit and watch this whole video. But I just wanted to kind of show it so we can look at this over time, right? You see that's where it is now. Now look what happens. Let's see what day this is. So that's day 11, right? And you can see how all the way on the left with all the organic matter, the food and the leaves and all that, see how fast that's breaking down? The paper's breaking down a little bit, but that cardboard stuff hasn't even changed anything yet. Look when you go a little bit further. Let's see where we are now. 36 days. And you see in the middle, the cardboard has hardly broken down at all. But over to your left, they already put more stuff in here because it's almost all broken down. And look at how the paper is starting to break down. So these worms are doing a job on this stuff. So as things rot, the worms use it and they're turning it back into something that will go into the soil, and then the roots of your plant will suck that nutrient into the plant to make that piece of food, to make that fruit, to make whatever it is that we eat. Look at here, day 61. So they've added so many extra things. This, the one all the way to the left, this one over here, would have been way down here by now. Those worms are breaking that up so much. But you look at the heavy stuff. Look at how starting to break it down a little piece. Look at the paper and all that being broken down. So this is what your worm is doing down there when you're not watching, right? See where the end of it is. Look at it towards the end. So this is what's happening. This is the God-given reality of how to return our soil back to us. You don't need to go to the store and buy worm castings. You don't need to go to the store and buy much of anything, because if we do the right thing, if we understand how to do this, and again, I'm telling you all right now, I'm not an expert, but I've grown food everywhere that I've lived. I've had fruit trees everywhere that I've lived, right? And it's important because that's how we're going to make it. So I want to go back to something real quick, and then I'll get to the statements, answer any questions, and we'll call it a day. I wanted to go back to the nutrients in that worm casting. Just list them to you one more time. See there? Phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, calcium, manganese, copper, zinc, cobalt, borax, iron, carbon, and nitrogen. Why is that significant? Well, because we have to go back and do just a reminder of a previous show, and we'll look at the periodic table of elements. That's not the right one. There, that's the one. So all of those things I just mentioned are up here at the top of this periodic table. And this is what we need a lot of in the body, right? I always talk about the fact that we need a lot of sodium, a lot of magnesium, a lot of potassium, a lot of calcium. We need a lot of manganese. We need a lot of iron. We need a lot of nitrogen. We need a lot of carbon, oxygen. Now, that's not nitrogen. This is nitrogen. So most of the things that we need in high amounts, they're all up here. Iodine, right? Most of the things we do not need a lot of are down at the bottom. And so just about every nutrient that I just mentioned that is coming out of that worm bin are things way up here on the top of this periodic table that we need much of. So we can see how this fits into a repertoire of having what you need when you are trying to live, when you are trying to live healthily. Okay. So that's pretty much all I had to show. I want to just get to the statements and the questions. Seti Bay says, I had purchased organic heirloom tomatoes, sliced one tomato when it got ripe and planted it like you did your compost. One can get 5 plants from one slice. Just want the family to know, but buy it where they shop. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that testimony. That's absolutely what we have to do. Now, you guys have to listen to what I am saying, right? Excuse me, just a second. You listen to what I'm saying, but you also have to go and do your research, right? These are things that you have to do for yourself, because just because I'm saying it, you have to go and make sure that your part of the country and where you're getting your stuff is the same, right? So that's a very important thing. You take some of the food that you grow and you let them dry up and plan that to be your seeds. Some of them put back in your worm bin and let it do what it does. And if you have a plant, if you have a tomato, you have a bell pepper, you have okra, if you have eggplant, and you take out the parts with the seeds, put that at the top of your worm bin so that you can dig in there and get that and transplant that into something else so that you can grow that, so that you can get your food from her. Okay. I am Joy. Thank you for coming. And you said, why do you still live in America, and is leaving here an option? Yeah, well, we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we have a responsibility. So I'll speak just for myself. I don't think there are very many physicians on this planet Earth that are talking like I talk, that have the type of, reality that I have. I can't put this on anybody else. So I can't leave and go to another country and leave all my people here and not try to be a part of the solution. So that's why I'm still here, my brother. Yeah, I know that a lot of us could leave and go other places. And I have had offers to go to Africa and teach in African universities and things like that nature, but I can't leave my people here. That would murder me in my brain. No matter how much money I was making, no matter how nice I was living in other places. Now we have work to do until we're at a place where we as a people in mass are doing better and our thought process is helping us go in a different direction. I have to stay here and continue to work, just like those that are the people that I keep my eye on. So thank you. That was a good question. Maxine, threw mine out. That's all right. Next one. Donna Jones, how much did you plant of the navy beans and what did you reap? Yeah, so about 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was, I planted navy beans all across the back of my house. And, as they grew, I kind of just made these little makeshift things to keep them up. But I actually I would say it was probably about 80, 100 navy beans out of that thing. And we mixed it with some other navy beans and ate it. So, I don't know what it tastes like compared to the other ones, but it was up in there, that pot. But I did make some. It was a very good thing to do, because I always wanted to know whether Navy beans could grow in this area. I know most of the time they grow in colder environments. To be able to grow them here was a good experiment. Hoyle Muhammad, thank you for coming in. Great job. I'm trying to keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. Long as I give me breath, I'm gonna try to do the best I can. But I appreciate everybody that's giving compliments. Please show us how. Let's share and help each other. Yes, ma'am. Greetings, believers. Brother Jamil, share the program. Yes, Nina Bar Shabazz, also a good heirloom and non-GMO seeds. So rareseeds.com. Thank you, ma'am. I'm gonna have to look that up. But for everybody else on here looking for seed company, Rare Seeds, RARE seeds.com. She says they're heirloom and non-GMO. Thank you for that. Curly Peter, good night. Yes, thank you for coming in, bro. Sister Jeanette, I saw famine as started years ago as GMO started to take over when food no longer has the same nutritional value, also producing weaker immune system. Absolutely. I've been saying that for years. We've been in a famine, not necessarily the famine like you saw in places like Somalia when we used to see those little thin babies with the big bellies. That big belly was their organs not having any ability to hold them up. And so their organs were falling down into their abdomens. That's why their abdomens were so big. That's called caloric restriction starvation. Most people in America are malnutritious, but it's not from calories. They're malnutritious from nutrients, vitamins, and the proper things to keep the body working correctly. Sick country. And so there is a difference in those two. But what we're about to see in this country is what we used to see in those other countries. And it's going to be difficult for us to make it through, but we're going to make it. Buy seeds now. Most websites are selling out of heirloom seeds. Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to get them. SETI, for famine emergency, are you against ramen noodles? Yeah, I'm against ramen noodles. Absolutely. But, you know, if it's the last thing, well, let me just say this. As I said earlier, I don't have any ramen noodles in my emergency kit because that's not what I eat. You know what I mean? That's not what I think about getting when I go to the store. But if I and my family are starving and somebody brought some ramen noodles, I'm going to eat ramen noodles. I'm going to be practical. I hope you all understand what I'm saying. But the major point that I'm getting to is that if enough of us start doing the right thing and going in the right direction, we'll have enough to make it, because the God that we serve is not going to put us out there like that. This destruction that's going on in this country is against the enemies of God. And if we're trying to show ourselves to be on the side of God and trying to line ourselves up with a righteous reality, we're going to be okay, because we are promised that. Shala Diaz Muhammad says Dr. Earth is a good organic brand of potting soil. Okay, there you go. Dr. Earth, y'all. I don't know if I've ever heard of that. If you don't mind, sister, tell us what part of the country you're in. And Seti Bay says, why did you say throw away leafy greens? I really like spinach drink. Well, first of all, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in book 2 talks about green foods not being good for us. And then if you look in your stool after you finish that green drink, or those greens or the kale and all that, it'll be in the green stuff in the stool. And so I wouldn't throw away leafy greens. I put them in my bin, but no leafy greens will wind up on my plate. Because I don't eat that type of, hold on for a second. But we love worms here on this homestead. And I think a lot of you guys have been really eager. Something was going on. So anyway, so that's my thing about that. I don't eat green food. Cynthia Muhammad says the worms get the soil to 99% pure. That's right. Worm castings are also great for fertilizing. Yeah, absolutely. You take the worm casting from your worm bin and you put that on top of your soil, and when it rains or when you wet it, those nutrients go down into the soil and they get absorbed by the plant's roots. Perfect point. Sagir Hassan, I saw those sold in Whole Foods as shots. Tell me what you're talking about. How do you feel about alpha interferon in general with virus? I believe that alpha interferon is probably the best thing that we can do right now outside of following How to Eat to Live and having a plan to boost your immune system. And for all of you that believe you have to go to China to get some, I know a brother right here, in the United States that's making it. I actually am a distributor of his. And so I will post his website. Y'all can reach out to me or go straight to him, whatever you like to do. But I think alpha interferon, that's the only thing outside of food that I am suggesting to people, because I have seen it work. As I said before, you know, I'm not a person that tries to push a lot of products, but I actually have a patient who was HIV positive. And in 6 months, he was undetectable on the tests, taking that alpha interferon. I have a couple of other people that I'm working with some other problems, autoimmune disorders and other types of infections. And, we're still in the work. So I don't have anything to say about that yet, but I do believe in the product because I've seen it work. And there are plenty studies out there to talk about how wonderful they are. Sagir Hassan says, what's the recipe for your immune booster shots? Y'all gonna have to pay attention because I'm gonna do a video on that probably tonight or tomorrow, sometime soon. But by the end of the week, y'all look on my Instagram page and I'm gonna drop it on my YouTube. I take that back. I'm gonna drop it everywhere. But look up, sir. Thank you, Sagir, because I'm gonna put that on here. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna show you all how I do it, all the steps, and then you will have the recipe, my brother. So Jeanette, if bugs don't eat it, we shouldn't eat it. That's absolutely right. Edward Smalls, my brother, thank you for coming in, sir. Great stuff. I appreciate the compliment. Sharon Crocker, what type of worms should we add? I call them earthworms. Some people call them little red wigglers. What I do know is that the big old worms that they sell in places like Academy and other fishing shops, those aren't the right ones. I can't think of the name right now. But the best thing to do is just to go somewhere where a rock has been sitting for a long time or something been sitting there, push that up and dig in there and you'll see some worms. And most of the time we can find them in our backyard or somewhere close. Okay. If you're not seeing any, then it may be that you either have to dig deeper or there may be a lot of chemicals and maybe go somewhere and find some in somebody else's yard. But I typically don't buy them. I'll go in somebody's yard and try to find them. Shaolin says essential nutrients added to the soil naturally. This is brilliant. Hey, bro, I'm not brilliant. It's the God that we serve is brilliant, but thank you, sir. San Muhammad Nat Medicine, you say, peace. I would like to know, how do you feel about the use of homeopathic medicine to build up the immune system? I don't think there's any need for homeopathic medicine to build up the immune system when you follow the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad and eat how to eat to live. I've, talked many times about the type of foods and the things that we need to boost the immune system. Now, if a person doesn't have the capability of doing that, or for some reason the person is not able to do it in the right manner, there are things that I wouldn't disagree with taking. But as a first line reality, I always go to what God put on the planet for Earth for us. And that's not something that man makes. That's something that he makes through our plants. And so I pray that answers your question. So do you disagree with adding food grade hydrogen peroxide drops in drinking water? And what type of water do you drink? No, I don't do hydrogen peroxide in my water because hydrogen peroxide is a waste product of the body. When you have people that have hairs turn gray, and a lot of times when people have acne, one of the pathological things that's happening in that process is the body produces hydrogen peroxide as a waste product. And so I try not to put anything back in my body that the body is trying to get rid of. I drink spring water. I try to get it from as far north in this country as possible. When I'm in California, I drink Arrowhead spring water because I did a lot of research on that company, and they are pretty good company based on my research. Crystal Geyser, I have been to at least 3 of their facilities. And I think relative to a lot of other companies, they do a pretty good job. I'm not saying that we can trust any of these companies, because when you put water in plastic, of course, some of that plastic leaches into that water. But what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, in that eating 1 meal a day, fasting 2 to 3 times per month. And then in my case, I'm eating 1 meal every other day and fasting 2 to 3 times per month. He said that there wouldn't be enough poison left in me to be sick 1 hour at the end of the year. So, that's where I get my confidence. I drink the best water that's possible. Would it be better if we had our own springs and we put it in glass? Absolutely. That's where we're going to go. But right now I have to do the best that I can. So I drink the best spring water that I can get, and I fast as often as I possibly can. And then, Ramadan starts on Friday. And so there's going to be long periods of time in between when I drink in the morning and then every other day when I eat in the evening. And so on some days, I'll be doing nothing but drinking water and maybe some of my immune boosting drink. And then the other day that I will eat. But those long periods of time in between eating are going to get rid of all the toxins and start the healing process anywhere that's needed in my body. And I have the confidence that that's going to happen. So let me know if I answered the question. Croy Etainer, one of my long time supporters. Many of the foods in Northern Cali are full of GMOs due to our cold winters. What should we do to grow food indoors, or what can we do to sustain foods that we grow ourselves? Excellent question. You know, when I was younger, what we used to do is we used to make our own greenhouses. And so that's the thing, you know, it can get kind of expensive to buy the metal ones, but sometimes you can put plastic coverings over your food. And then they also, you may have to do some research on what they call crop heaters. Sometimes they have these heaters that you can put in your, you know, you can make, you don't have to go and have somebody else make these or buy them, but you can like stake wood in the ground and put your plastic and your nets around things so, you know, birds and all that kind of stuff don't get in your stuff. But then they have these heaters that can keep your inside that plastic at a certain temperature so that you can grow certain foods in different type of climates. So there's a lot of information out there. I mean, that's a great question. You'd have to check and see what kind of stuff they have around in Northern California, because I know California is one of the biggest producers of food in this country. Southern California does a lot of the berries and the fruit and all that kind of stuff, nuts. And up there in Northern California, it's a lot of the colder climate foods. So there should be quite a bit of stuff that you can research up that way that should be able to give you some help with that. But that's a great question. Shaolin Soldier says, as the crops are flourishing, do you continue to add your compost, or is this just an important step in the beginning of the process of gardening? Excellent question. So my understanding of a plant is that when a plant starts to grow, it has to have the nutrients in order for it to mature. And then once it's mature, then it can get to producing food. So for fruit trees, that can be sometimes years. For other things like tomatoes and other type of vegetables that we grow, that can be just for a few months. And so from my understanding, it's very important, especially in the early time as that plant starts to mature, that it's got to have a lot of nutrients. And then when it's starting to produce food, it has to have a lot of nutrients. And then when you start getting into your time of harvesting those crops, the necessity for nutrients starts to drop. But the key is that you still want to have some nutrients if you have the type of plant that has the ability to continue year after year, right? And then sometimes what we'll have to do is we'll have to take those plants that have been producing food for a certain number of years. And like I said, you know, when we have good crops, we have to save some of that food from time to time, because sometimes you have to take those plants and bury them. Kill them and bury them. And I don't mean kill them with poison, but cut them off their roots and bury them in the ground so that that nutrient returns. And then you plant a different type of crop. It's called crop rotating. You know, they when you do a lot of history, a lot of research of slaves, and then of course societies prior to that, they always had a very intuitive way of knowing when a plant was getting to a point where it wasn't going to produce good food anymore. I can't say that I know how to do that. And I think as a people in general, we've lost that. But that's what you have to do. You have to, you know, get in there. And then, of course, the kind of conversation that we're having today, we're going to walk back into that knowledge, because this is the type of stuff we're going to learn. You'll share something with me. I'll share something with you. And then we start paying attention. We start experimenting. And next thing you know, we'll start getting back to things that we had as a people. Great question, my brother. Spring water. Yes. Night crawlers. That's Zachary Muhammad. Thank you, brother. Yeah, night crawlers. That's the one they sell up there for the people to fish with. And I don't put night crawlers in my worm bin. They're too big, and my understanding is that they kind of have a antagonistic relationship with regular worms, so they wind up having a problem. And the night crawler is bigger, so they usually wind up winning. Would I suggest leaving America? If Minister Farrakhan says so, yes. But until if he says that, I'm going to be here trying to do the best I can to help my community. Muhammad Farms and many believers have safe seas. Yes. What about spirulina? Spirulina is good if you want to detox, but it's not good to give nutrition. That's my personal take on it. Helen Limes Muhammad, thank you. Lynette Rogers, any thoughts on sea moss gel and black seed oil? Sea moss gel is definitely something beneficial. If that's what you like to do, is take those type of products. It comes from the sea, and as it says, it comes from moss. It is a substance that they get from seaweed. And when I talk about getting my nutrients from sea salt, It's the same nutrients that would be in sea moss. So I, of course, wouldn't say anything bad about sea moss. I never do. I just tell people that that's just not my way. I'd rather go to the food than to go to a product. Black seed oil, I have discussed that in the past. I think black seed oil is good. It's too far away from America. So by the time it gets here, I'm not necessarily sure how much nutrition is left in it. Sea moss gel with almond milk, turmeric, ginger, and cardamom. Everything on there is good except almond milk. There's nothing milk that comes from an almond. So I don't believe that there's any such thing as almond milk. I don't co-sign to almond milk. The only milk that I co-sign to is what Donald Raj Muhammad said, and that is whole milk. Tamara said red wigglers. Yeah, that's them big old things. Good for, no, red wigglers are the ones I'm talking about, right? Night crawlers are the ones that they took fishing, yes. Sharon says, got them in the yard, yes. See if there are any other things. Ooh. How do you suggest growing for those in apartments? Yeah, every time I've lived in an apartment, I've grown a lot of food. I get plastic bins about this long and this deep, put them in the windowsill, put them on the balcony, put them in by the front door, wherever I have any room. I'm going to grow some food. Always, no matter what, I'm going to grow. So, you have to take the reality that you have in the place that you live and just make it realistic, but grow something, learn, process, experiment by growing something. And so whenever you get blessed to move to something bigger, to some more land, to some bigger area, when you can do more, then we'll, step it up. But until then, let's do what we can. All of us need to be doing something. Growing something, putting that green thumb in some dirt. You can order affordable small greenhouses from places like Amazon, Home Depot, Menards. There you go. Joyce from Dallas, thank you for coming in. Joyce Helm, thank you for coming in. Raquel Helm, thank you for coming in. So we stay put until the minister gives the call, brother. Absolutely. That's my reality, brother. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Von Shia Thompson says sea moss increases estrogen in women. I didn't have a good experience. Wow, I didn't know that. I have to go do some research. I've never heard that before. So thank you for giving me that. That's something I have to go look up. Seti Bay says, I take organic celery, baby cucumbers, Himalayan sea salt, lemon and water, make juice, drink 1 glass in the morning on an empty stomach. But is that good for me, brother? Absolutely. I mean, celery is shown to have excellent nutrients. It's a very good food from a nutritional perspective. Cucumbers, excellent nutrition. Himalayan sea salt. As I said on Sunday, Himalayan sea salt is pink. Celtic sea salt is great. It just is based on the soil from where they come from. Lemon and water, that's all great. I don't have any problem with anything of that. Just off topic for a second, celery is very good in people who have swelling. So just thought I'd drop that for anybody that may be looking. Lots of love, but I have killed a cactus. Oh my goodness, Sherrod Crockett needs some help, y'all. Raheem Elijah. Do you remember chlorella, my brother? Yes, I do recommend chlorella for people that are highly toxic. Yes, for the average person. Well, let me take that back. Chlorella and spirulina are both good to help the body detox. What you will notice with chlorella and spirulina, just like other green leafy vegetables, you'll see green stuff in your stool if you take a certain amount. So my understanding is that chlorella and spirulina bind to a lot of toxins, heavy metals as well, and it can help extract those out into the toilet. So if you take spirulina or chlorella and you see it in the toilet, you should say to yourself, like I did back when I used to take it, it's like, man, I just got rid of a lot of toxins. But as far as a nutritional factor, I don't believe that there's any nutritional factor to either one of those as far as benefiting the body. So let me know if I helped you. If I answered your question, Brother Elijah. Marcus Mama, where to get good milk. After the show is over, I will put a link in YouTube and Facebook so that you can search the areas in your area. Carl Brown, making soap now. Yes, sir. Okay, so it was a wonderful show today, you all. I thank you all for coming in, joining me on your Tuesday. I pray that you got some news that you can use. I pray that all of us have a little more confidence that we have the ability to come out of her and to do some things, produce some things, and gather and produce this community that we can rely on each other, and that we'll make it out of these times like the scripture says. The scripture talks about some people making it out of it. The scripture talks about the bees that were busy in the carcass. And so that is an analogy of us. All right. So let's make a choice that we're going to improve our lives and be more righteous people. Let go of the negativity and the stupid, ignorant things that we do. Let's concentrate on all the things we need to do, right? We need to be listening to some financial people tell us to do with our money, people to do with our real estate, people to do with a lot of different things. When it comes to health, come to the Ultimate Wellness Group so you can find news that you can use. We thank you. In a society like we live in, it takes a lot of work to have good health. So please work hard on your health. Until I see you next, have a wonderful rest of your week. And for those of you who are going to practice Ramadan, and I take that back, all of you, even if you don't usually practice Ramadan, come on back and practice Ramadan. I'm planning on doing a show before Ramadan starts on Friday. There's another brother, Brother Brandon. He's probably still on here. We want to do a show together prior to Ramadan. So please stay tuned for any, flashes or commercials about what's coming up before Ramadan. And then look out for a show that I'll be doing on Saturday. So you all take care of yourself. Till the next time I see you, work hard, keep God in your life, keep striving, and put some hands in some dirt. Peace.